ko, I was very careless. Haven't seen taman na 1.04. Okay, last time. Ako na-remember dito, may sa taman ko 1.08. Buto ako nabutan sa mga. But then, I will discuss until 1.04. And the second report will be starting from qualitative and quantitative research. So first, as an introduction, I have here a picture for you to analyze. Can I ask someone to answer? How about you, ma'am? Are you an observer? Yes. How about you, ma'am? Not so. So, why I ask this because observation or observing is part of the method of research. Okay? So, how about this picture? If you're a good observer, ma'am, can you observe this picture? Is it a woman or an old lady? Based on your observation. How about you, ma'am?
I would say it's a young woman since the skin is kind of
How about you, ma'am? How did you figure out that it's, at first you said it's a woman?
It's an
Old woman.
I can see a lady as well as I can also see an old woman.
So, ang first na nakita is an old lady.
Ang pinakauna is the young.
The young.
Then, old.
Kung sa kayo nakita, she said that the skin is fair. Hindi naman, like fair. How about you, ma'am?
Yung nose, may kita ko nila siya pa, size na parang chin.
What made you say that it's an old lady?
Ano yung ako niya ako sa'yo? Bullshit kaya ako, ano. Kaya,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your sharing. So, as an introduction, the methods of research is, while observation is part of it because we observe and we gather information based on what we see and what we research. So, like for example, in this picture, we have Miss Miss Cha observed that it's a young woman based on the picture of the picture na picture fairer, and that is included in the research of methods of research. How about this picture? Are the horizontal lines different? The horizontal. No. Why did you say so?
no siya kay some of the horizontal lines there has a curving of bounce in the center.
Thank you, ma'am. So that is part of the methods of research. We observe and we look at the specific participant with the variables. So as an abstract, this section outlines the basics of research methods, contrasting them with everyday knowledge. It covers research approaches, key differences between qualitative and quantitative methods, which will be discussed in the second report, and ethical principles shaped by historical studies. So the focus is on reducing bias, understanding reasoning methods, and applying ethical standards. So as introduction, it talks about the first part. We should understand the basics, the methods of research. We are going to discuss the knowledge and research methods, empirical and interpretive research, research to overcome cognitive bias, and theory and research. So I will not just read. So actually, part of introduction are those topics. So I will just discuss until theory and research. So let us start. So actually, the introduction is quite lengthy. I read all the text from page 1 to 45 and summarize it into a few slides. And I will just explain a few things regarding the topic. So first, knowledge and research methods. I have summarized it into systematic and versus unsystematic. So research, from the word research, it follows a what? Process. So meaning to say it is systematic. Systematic in the sense that it follows a process, procedure. You are not just going to conduct research without following any procedure or any method of research. It is a systematic process with, let us take note, a clear design, whereas everyday knowledge acquisition is often haphazard and based on personal experience or second-hand information. Why am I comparing systematic versus unsystematic? Because in this part of discussion, there is a comparison between the research and our everyday lives. Okay? So when we go through a research, it will talk, we are going to take necessary measures and we are going to follow the process. Whereas in our everyday lives, we just follow what we have experienced daily. And we consider that as the system, or we consider that as the real one. But actually, anything that, for example, my experience is different from your experiences. That is why when we interpret something, it's different from everyday experiences. So meaning to say, our experience, or when we say we base only our experience on research, we base only something on our experience, it's not, hindi siya reliable. Yes, correct. Correct. Yes, and we are not going to come up with a uniform outcome. However, in research, for example, I researched this type of topic following the qualitative method or the quantitative method, the same topic, then it was approved and publicized. So these are the outcomes for using quantitative. Next year, the same person studies this topic with the same process. So using research, meaning to say there's a big possibility that that person with the same topic and the same process will come up with the same result because that is research. Okay? So like siya, am I understood why systematic si research? However, our everyday experience is unsystematic. Hindi magkakainong everyday yung ka makabukuan kanang eskwelahan alas 8. Diba? We might say one factor that we become late in school is our kanang ang sakyanan. Diba? We cannot say that that is real. But unless we undergo some research. Okay. Next. Under knowledge and research methods, we have this reproducibility. Before I read the reproducibility, what comes in your mind when you hear this? In research, what does it mean? Yes, ma'am.
From the word reproducibility, mareproduce ka na kay i-replicate na kay kung sa if you say ito ang product na original then na kay plastic replicate.
Thank you, ma'am. So meaning, she has a point. In scientific research, it emphasizes reproducibility from the word reproduce, meaning that other researchers should be able to replicate the study and obtain similar results. This is not typically a feature of everyday knowledge, right? Okay, so everyday knowledge, my knowledge is different from entirely different from all of your knowledges. right? Because you have different experiences and you have different backgrounds, educational backgrounds. You have different works, you have different routine. Whereas in research, it is can be reproduced and can be replicated. Just like what I said a while ago, that if you conduct the same research as I have conducted or the previous researchers have conducted, it can be replicated and it can produce similar results. Okay? Is it understood? Yes. Okay, shall I proceed? Okay, thank you. Next is under knowledge and research methods. This is also one thing that is called minimizing bias. Okay. For example, if you are asked, what letter has the most number of words? Is it letter K or letter T? Miss Levenboy, can I ask your opinion? What letter has the most number of words in the dictionary? Is it letter T or is it letter K?
But I haven't scanned it for the dictionary, I guess. It's letter T.
Letter T. Okay. Why do you say letter T?
Because we use words, we have more words in letter T than letter K. Say for example, we can think of a word like teacher, tools, what else? Table. Then for letter K, when we think of the word the letter K, there are only few words that comes up into our mind.
So that is, in research, if you are going to take that as correct, that is somewhat like bias to letter K, right?
Yes.
It's
Because
let's consider the other languages here. We have a lot of languages, not just only English. So we cannot say that the letter T has more words than letter K.
that's our opinion also. Yes, because in research, we are minimizing bias. So if we're going to take that as correct, that is only mental frame. Based on our experience and how we use words without conducting or without counting actually the words present in the dictionary. So if we consider that answer, letter T has more words than letter K, meaning to say K, we are biased. No?
Why is it that, based on the statement, there is a closely as possible? What is it closely as possible?
It is closely as possible because as a person, we use those words and we consider our mental frame as somewhat correct. But to verify it, we have to conduct research. Okay?
Okay, the very big reason for that, it is closely to ako. Closely as possible, it's because basically when we talk about research, there is really a process. And that process we pulled out on your previous presentation, previous slide I made, that's systematic. So meaning to say, if the study underwent a certain process, there is what we call certain findings. And that certain findings may be applicable to other cases. That is why closely as possible. Kaya naman, hindi makapakaingon nga, nag-conduct ko sa amin na school. And I think the same thing will happen to other schools also. Pero it's not possible na closely lang siya. Kaya may naman punta na, lagi mga bata dito sir. Dahil man po ba, yung surveillance sir, dahil man po dito sa school, kailangan may environment. But then, based on the study, based on the research, it proves that the behavior, for example, if you're talking about, if you're research about behavior of the students, the behavior is like this, most of findings. So that's closely to as possible, o na ma-avoid din ang biases when it comes to research, because this is based on different perspectives coming from different scholars. So that is why systematic may involve a long process before it come out with certain findings that proves that this is really the conclusion of my study. Okay? Sinanan na siya. Sige, ma'am.
So generally, research minimizes biases. Next, we have also critical evaluation. Research encourages critical evaluation of information, questioning assumptions, and seeking evidence-based conclusions. Everyday approaches, however, may rely on authority, tradition, or intuition without rigorous scrutiny. Okay, so there's a big difference. Research has critical evaluation of information. That is why kanang mga mag-thesis, di ba, dili ma-approve. Daghang yung corrections. After a correction, another correction. After the defense, another defense. Manang you go through all the processes, but after the ang advisor pagbasa niya, another correction. Because in research, it has to undergo critical evaluation of information, questioning assumptions, and seeking evidence-based conclusions. So, hindi ito pwede lang sa mental frame lang natin or based on experience lang. It should be based on evidence. Either qualitative or quantitative ang pagkagat sa evidences. Next, we also have generalizability. Can I ask everybody to please read?
Research aims to build generalizable knowledge that can be applied to a wider population or context. Everyday knowledge is often specific to personal experiences or limited observations.
Okay, so meaning the research can be applied to a wider scope. Okay, so ang imo sir closely as possible. So kung ano nga research di conduct sa ano nga participants in that specific school, it could be applied also in other school because it is closely related or possible. Whereas everyday knowledge can be often specific to personal experiences only. Your experiences might be different from the experiences of others and limited only to your observation.
Okay, when can we apply this
Generalizability.
Yes. This is what we call giving a context. For example, I'm Christian. Ako nag-survey ko, conduct survey. And I believe that in the population sa Kuya School, there are 200. So, because my study is quantitative means to see numerical. Now, I assume that there are only 30 respondents akong giapil. So in that process, since there are only 30 respondents na akong giapil, how can you apply this principle? Dili siya ma-apply. Dili ka ma-generalize na ang tubag sa mga bata is dominant siya sa 30. Kaya wala mo siya tunga. So what's the technique here? It's 50 plus 1. For example, if the total population is 100, that's 50% plus 1. That's 1 is 50% plus 1%, or it could be 60%. So that you can be able to generalize what are the common ideas or perspectives or responses coming from your respondents. That's the principle of. Okay. So take note. Another thing also, in qualitative, since we are only given the time for a limited number of participants, how can you be able to apply this principle? If the data is saturated, for example, the data becomes saturated if the responses coming from the participants are repeating. So for example, from participant number 1, in-interview ko siya, same siya sa response ng participant number 2. And so on, participant number 3, participant number 4, participant number 5. So expected that in the participant number 6, the same response will out. So if that will be the case, since there is what we call saturation of the responses coming from the participants, meaning to say, the data that you have gathered are generalized already. So, mo siya gitawag na isa sa mga context research na kinahanglan, imugit siyang ma-generalize. If ever hindi mo siya ma-apply, we need to say, there is a doubtful findings of your or ambiguous findings of your study. Ambiguous siya, magpasabot, doubtful ka, or ang reader mismo magbasa sa inyong study, doubtful sila. It's because, based na sa inyong ipakita ng population, based na ipakita nyo sa number of participants and respondents, it come out na kulang pa siya. So meaning to say, you cannot generalize certain findings if ever o quantitative limited ang number of respondents. And qualitative if the data is not saturated. Buhat ko? At buhat ko? Okay. Wala ko, limited observations, personal experiences.
Meaning to say, according to the quantitative, it should be 60% or 50 plus 1, and qualitative is saturated ang data to be generalized. Okay, thank you. For next is, research is an ongoing inquiry. Do you agree? So research is an ongoing process of inquiry, recognizing that no single study provides definitive answers. Okay? So while everyday knowledge may be more static, based on accepted beliefs or information without further investigation. So a study is not a single study does not provide definitive. So recognizing that no single study provides definitive answers because
Why is it ongoing inquiry? Paano naging ongoing inquiry sa research?
as nagbabago and change is
Ongoing inquiry. Oh, from the word ongoing. Because remember, when you talk about research, this is a continuous process. If you're done with a certain study, meaning to say, at the end of your study, there is what we call recommendation. And that recommendation proves something that there is more investigation will happen. So meaning to say, another study will be conducted. And that's ongoing inquiry. Walang ending to siya. So that is why it's a continuous process, but we need to understand kasi in research, there is what we call scope and limitation. Limited lang po ako sa variable na to. So meaning to say, my study is just limited rather on this particular focus. And for example, if I'm going to conduct about reading, so there are so many soft skills or constructs about reading. We can say fluency. Ano pa? Comprehension. Ano pa? Vocabulary recognition. Ano pa? Yung speed. Yung speed kasi basically that's part of fluency. So, if I'm going to conduct about reading, I'm going to focus only about fluency. Naapay comprehension. Naapay recognition. And that comprehension and recognition, basically, one of my recommendations to further investigate the effectiveness of this intervention. Project Makagwapa, for example. Did you follow? Did you follow? That's ongoing inquiry. Okay?
Thank you for that. Now I understand why there are recommendations at the end of every research because it's an ongoing inquiry and it does not end in one study but it continues as change is inevitable in our lives. It should be a continuous process. Next, research also is transparent. Research findings are typically shared transparently, allowing for peer review and scrutiny. Everyday knowledge may be based on undisclosed sources or personal interpretation. So it should be
When
transparent.
can you apply transparency in research? Can you call somebody from your classmate?
So any idea when can we apply transparency in research?
Hindi po siya MOE na may transparency. Hindi po siya pera na in research, we also have this what we call transparency. And one particular scenario in research where transparency occurs.
Can we set the authors, sir?
Yes, what is that?
Maganda po ka ng survey. Wala mga bata ba? Survey.
Yes, during data gathering.
What's permission from the respondents?
And result is, the result should be transparent, the results.
The results should be transparent. Yes. What else? What else?
They should be informed of the process. They should be informed what to do.
Kaya kailangan ng research.
Who are that person and who we will
Kailangan ng
see?
participants, informed sila.
Okay.
Or ang respondents.
So, during the data gathering, di ba, first and foremost, what we did is, we first secure a permit that you as the researcher, you as the teacher, slash the researcher, itagahan kang permit to gather the data. Remember, during the gathering of data, first and foremost, during the communication process, dapat clear yung statement doon. What is the very clear statement? We will keep the data with a close confidentiality. Yun po yung pinaka-common, no? What we read, what we hear, and what we experience so far during the data gathering. Did you follow? Now, when is the transparency happen? So if there is what we call permit to gather the data or another communication to the respondents, remember, by the time that you are going to ask some question with a student, with a teacher, with my classmate, and any other people, di ba you would say, okay, read ka, kung hindi ka mag-participate, because there is what we call informed consent. And in the informed consent, transparency occurs. Yeah, pwede niya na gusto niya tanan ang iyang feelings, tanan ang iyang perspective, tanan niya kawaling opinion sa ating pagtala. So, it must be transparent. Now, correct ko po si ma'am. Right after the data gathering, because the next step is to